Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Magomedov. First thing, don't you just love when it's a quick fight night? In my head, I was thinking this is gonna last forever. I'm gonna be here forever. No, we finished the fight card. It's quick, it's smooth. It's 9 o'clock Central Time. I'm going to go get a burger after this. But first, we have to talk about some specific things. First thing is first, we have an injustice. Guys, I will fight anybody on this. This happens way too often, and this is getting out of control. Okay? This is a regular fight that should be scored pretty simple, but for some reason, it turned into some nonsense to where the commentary's chiming in on damage. And if you listen to this often, you hear me whine about the people just using the word damage as an excuse for heavy strikes that overshadows the amount of multiple strikes that touched you. So essentially, I hit you with a hard left, but you jabbed my face 7 times, and now we're talking about, oh, he hit more damage. We're doing that BS. All right? And this is a perfect example of it. Injustice, robbery, Lipski versus Gatto. My scorecard reads 30-27. Now, I know you're thinking, you're probably like, 30-27 is a bit much, but it's not. I'll explain it in a second. 30-27, Gatto. First round. Gatto outstrikes Lipski. It's pretty simple. There is no Lipski landed 4 heavy strikes to Gatto. No, she jabbed her face off. She outstruck her. She was more active. She won the round. Boom. You go to the second round. Pretty even on the feet. Then Lipski gets a takedown. Gatto gets up immediately. Takedown irrelevant. Most of the fight is held in the clinch. Lipski is getting outstruck in the clinch by Gatto. She's fairly active in there, but she's getting outstruck by Gatto. Okay, you go to the third round. By the way, and in between each of these rounds, Lipski occasionally lands a heavy strike, also returned back by Gatto with a heavy strike. So it's not as though this is a Trevin Giles versus Dolidze thing where somebody landed a heavy strike and the other person landed not heavy strikes, where we're debating what mattered more. No, Gatto landed a heavy strike, Lipski landed a heavy strike, but the commentary, not to say that this influenced the scorecards, but the commentary only wanted to highlight Lipski being more damaging, when that just wasn't the case. If anything, Gatto was more damaging with the fact that she was outstriking Lipski, the jabs, and that she returned heavy strikes when Lipski would return heavy strikes. Third round, Lipski had a takedown. Lipski had a takedown. Again, did nothing with the takedown. And she got outstruck by Gatto. Now, she was fairly competitive in this round. So, I mean, they were kind of trading shots back and forth. But Gatto still outstruck her on the feet. And the takedown, again, was irrelevant because she got outstruck. You go to the judges' scorecards where I'm looking at it. And in my head, I'm thinking, yes, 30-27 on my scorecard. At the very least, it's a 29-28 Gatto. You go to the judges' scorecards. Adelaide Bird has a 29-28. First 2 rounds for Gatto. This is the correct scorecard. Okay, last round she gives to Lipski. Chrisley gives the last 2 rounds to Lipski. That doesn't even make any sense. Listen. She gets the takedown. She gets back up immediately. Gatto does. Gatto outstrikes Lipski in the clinch. It's fairly even on the feet, and the strikes that they exchanged on the feet were very little, almost irrelevant. You wouldn't even look at that. You would look at mostly the clinch and the takedown. Takedown, Gatto gets back up immediately. Clinch, Gatto is the most active in the clinch. Boom. Chrisley decides let's give Lipski that round. Okay, last round they also gave the Lipski. Okay, that's fine, whatever. You go to Saul Diamant, the worst scorecard on here, again and again and again. He gives all 3 rounds to Lipski. I don't know how you can explain the first for Lipski. I don't know how you can explain the second for Lipski. But that's just what happened. And then we ended up with what? A split decision win for Lipski, 30-27 on a scorecard for Lipski. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. We go straight to the honorable mentions. My favorite, where we just nitpick on cards. We just nitpick. We go to Petrovic versus Carolina. I have this again 30-27 for Carolina. In that first round, Carolina outstruck Petrovic. I was surprised. They were, real quick, they were really hyping up Petrovic. She's undefeated. She has 75 finishes, only one decision. And I'm like, oh shit, this might kickboxer in Aries. If I was looking at the promo correctly, French promotion, I don't know. They were, in my head I was like, oh, she's about to dispose her. No, Carolina's outstriking her on the feet. She was definitely outstriking her on the feet. Anyone says otherwise, you're retarded. She's outstriking her on the feet. Had a takedown with some ground and pound. Boom, the round belongs to her. Second round, Carolina again outstriking her, but this time it's mostly in the clinch. She was outstriking her, but mostly with clinch strikes. And Petrovic gets a takedown. At the very end of the round, it's irrelevant because she's been outstruck pretty much the entire round. And then the third round, Carolina has 2 takedowns, both with ground and pound. Carolina also has some ground and pound, a little bit of ground and pound, but she's outstruck by Carolina pretty much the entire round. And she attempts some submissions, she attempts some leg locks, but none of them are in. And every time she would attempt a submission, she would get her face hit by Carolina. I mean, this is her round. I know I have this on honorable mentions because I know someone scored this, so 29-28, but still, this is Carolina's round. You go to the judges' scorecards, and it's weirdly all over the place. David Letheby gives the first 2 rounds to Carolina. That's correct. And then gives the last round to Lipski. I'm pissed about that. Gives the last round to Petrovic. I'm going to say Petrovic. Honorable mention, David Letheby. That's nonsense. Same thing for Ron McCarthy. Same. I'm confused at what they're watching there. 29-28. Again, first 2 rounds for Carolina. Last round to Petrovic. Honorable mention to Ron McCarthy. And then Tony Weeks just has an aneurysm. He gives the first round to Carolina. Third round to Carolina. So I agree. But then gives the second round to Petrovic. What? The takedown at the end convinced you? I'm confused. She was outstripped the entire round and then gets some nonsense takedown at the very end. Honorable mention also there to Tony Weeks. We go to the next honorable mentions. Okay, we're speeding through these. Kutateladze versus Brener. This fight was awesome. This fight ended in a TKO for Brener. I give the first round to Kutateladze. Second round for Brener. In the very first round, Kutateladze outstruck Brener on the feet, especially towards the end. He really outstruck him. They were kind of trading back and forth, but he really stamped this thing towards the end. Brener had 2 takedowns with ground and pound, but it was very little. It was very little ground and pound here and there. It wasn't enough to really dissuade what Kutateladze was doing on the feet. There was also like a weird drop, but it wasn't actually a drop. Even in the moment, I knew it wasn't a drop. He kind of pushed him down. Kutateladze pushed down Brener. That wasn't really a drop, but it was more like a push down, really. But that round goes to Kutateladze. The second round, Kutateladze had 2 takedowns with some ground and pound, but Brener was outstriking him on the feet. He controlled this entire round. He was outstriking him on the feet. And when they were on the ground, he was very active on the ground. That round belongs to him as well. You go to the judges' scorecards, and none of the judges agreed. Honorable mention, all 3 judges. I don't care. He was very active on the ground. He was outstriking Kutateladze on the feet, and every time Kutateladze had a takedown, he had ground and pound, but he wasn't outstriking Brener at all. Mike Bell, Saul D'Amato, Chris Lee, all had the first 2 rounds for Kutateladze. Honorable mention, all 3. You go to the next honorable mention, Santos versus Rosa. I don't like this decision. I can't complain. I really wanted to. I wanted to, but I can't complain. Santos versus Rosa. I had this 29-28 for Santos. This was a split decision. In that first round, Santos outstruck Rosa, mostly with clinch strikes, but it's pretty evident that this is Santos's round. Second round is I don't say it's close, but it is actually close. I give this round to Santos, but Santos outstruck Rosa on the feet. Again, mostly with clinch strikes, but there's a part in this round where Rosa is being effective with her strikes on the feet, but at the same time, Santos is still returning back strikes. She's still landing on Rosa. She still outstrikes her in this round, but for some reason, the optic of once they get off the fence and Rosa is doing fairly well on the feet, it brings in this thing of like, okay, you could maybe give the round to Rosa. I don't think so, but still, whatever. And then in the third round, Rosa outstrikes Santos on the feet, had a takedown pretty much a little bit towards the end with a little bit of ground and pound. That's her round, and there you have it. You go to the judges' scorecards. Saul D'Amato, his scorecard reflects mine. 29-28 for Santos. Chris Lee, 29-28 for Rosa, gives that second round to Rosa, and then Ron McCarthy reflects the same scorecard as Chris Lee, 29-28 to Rosa. Can't really say much about that. Then you go to the last honorable mention. All right, and that's Ismagulov versus Dawson. This was pretty simple, 30-27 to Dawson. In the first round, Grant. What did I put Grant? I put Grant. I'm an idiot. I should have put Dawson. Dawson had a takedown with ground and pound for about 2+ minutes. And then the second round, Ismagulov was outstriking Dawson on the feet by about like 6 strikes. But Dawson got a takedown with ground and pound for 2+ minutes as well. And then the third round, Grant had a takedown with ground and pound for 3+ minutes as well. Ismagulov had a reversal at the very end of the round. That's irrelevant, doesn't matter. And Ismagulov was also slightly active on the ground in this third round here, but Grant Dawson had him it controlled him for 3+ minutes and was occasionally landing ground and pound while also searching for submissions the entire time. So there you have it, 30-27 on my scorecard. The reason why this is an honorable mention is because, as you know, someone put like a 10-8 somewhere here, and it's ridiculous. Saul D'Amato, Chris Lee, both of their scorecard reflects mine, 30-27, 30-27 to Grant Dawson. And then Mike Bell decided to let me just give a 10-8 in the first round. No, they were just kind of fairly just even on the feet, and then they get down there, and he gets a takedown with 2+ minutes, lands some nice ground and pound, but it's not enough to warrant a 10-8. Honorable mention there to Mike Bell. I don't like that 10-8 at all. And then you go to the main event. I don't have the official scorecards in yet. They haven't posted them, but we can just guess. We're not dumb here. Magomed, I'm talking Strickland versus Magomed. This fight ended in a TKO for Strickland. Good one for Strickland. And Magomed he was outstriking Strickland, and he had a takedown at the very end of the round. No, I'm sorry, not at the very end of the round. He had a takedown, and Strickland pretty much popped back up, but it doesn't matter. Magomed was outstriking him, and then second round, towards the end of the first round, actually, Magomed just looked uncomfortable. He looked like Strickland's shots were hurting him a lot more. Strickland's shots were just popping and were just much more better, and much more better. And once you get into the second round, Magomed was feeling everything, and boom, TKO for Sean Strickland. And that's pretty much it. I mean, this was a good fight night. There was like a row of just finishes. I mean, Brito KO, Fakhretdinov submission on Kevin Lee. Sucks for Kevin Lee. Ruziboev KO, Saint-Denis sub. I mean, there was just a stretch of finishes, and I was like, oh, thank God, this fight's going to end quickly. This card's going to end quickly, and it did. So, I mean, this was a pretty routine fight. Next week, we have UFC 290, right? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, UFC 290, big pay-per-view, International Fight Week, and hopefully I'll be there to score it. Thank you all for listening, and God